much this, please?
Yes.
$1,600. No?
Hello.
He's a little late. It's not a.
How you doing? Good evening, everyone. How are you? Good. Can everyone put their phones on silent and vibrate right now? Thank you. Got a little clerical error back there, so I'm running a little bit late. Thank you. Today is Tuesday, April 25th. This is our regular meeting. Usually we have it every first and third Tuesdays. I believe this is not the third Tuesday because everyone was out in Lansing, am I correct, for CAPCON. And at every beginning of every meeting, we started with, I'm a little under the weather, with the invocation, and then it's led by a pledge of allegiance. I believe you're going to do the invocation today, Mr. Zander. Can everybody please stand for the invocation led by the Pledge of Allegiance afterwards?
Dear God, I ask you to be with us and let this council meeting go smooth tonight, like we always do. And we pray for our city council members and the mayor, and keep this Eastpointe going smoothly this time whatsoever. And we just wanted to do that. And we just wanted to do that smoothly can we get. In Jesus' name, amen.
In Jesus' name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Zander. That was beautiful. We have a proclamation, item A, for Asian Americans Pacific Islander Heritage Month for May 2023. Anybody would like to read that? No? Okay. Yeah? Okay. Please, Councilwoman, thank you.
City of Eastpointe Proclamation, Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, May 2023. Whereas the month of May is recognized as Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month in the United States, and whereas the Asian American and Pacific Islander community has played a vital role in shaping the history, culture, and economy of our nation and local community, and whereas the city of Eastpointe, Michigan is home to a vibrant and diverse population, including many Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders who contribute to our community's social, cultural, and economic fabric. And whereas it is important to celebrate and recognize the significant contributions and achievements of Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders and acknowledge the challenges they have faced and overcome. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and City Council declare the month of May 2023 as Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month in the city of Eastpointe, and urge residents to recognize the contributions made by people of Asian and Pacific Islander heritage within our community, proclaimed this 25th day of April 2023.
You're here.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is our roll call. Good evening, Ms. Holman.
Good evening, Mayor. Councilmember Baker.
Here.
Councilmember Cobb Muniz.
Present.
Councilmember Curley.
Here.
Councilmember DeMonico.
Here.
Mayor Owens.
Here, thank you. The approval of the agenda, council.
Mayor had a couple items for that. The first one, about the Local Officers Compensation Commission, I would just motion we remove it from the agenda unless there was a council person that added it, because we only add it to the agenda if we're going to reject it.
What was that again, Councilman?
For the Local Officers Compensation Commission determination, we only goes on the agenda if it's being rejected, not if it's being accepted. And actually, frankly, if we accept it or reject it, it means the same thing, because accepting it's a no increase and denying it is no increase. We can't change it at all.
Okay.
So I just then motion we remove the Local Officers Compensation Commission determination, which is item D in new business from the agenda.
Okay, or we can replace it with our city manager, I was about to call you our councilwoman, our city manager for Apollo, what's this, the fire apparatus sales and service for our fire department to get some fixtures to fix the fire truck. You want to replace that with?
I thought should we do one at a time, or
Okay,
you want
go
to?
ahead, I was gonna just try to amend it to replace it, so we can do all one vote to take that off and to replace it with, so we can just do one vote.
Yeah, I mean, I can mention my other, so yeah.
Oh, you had more than one?
Yeah, I had
Okay,
one
sorry.
other item too.
Okay, I'm sorry, okay, I didn't know, okay.
So we're going to do it separately in case somebody wants to say yes on one and no on the other. So you should take them separately.
But he has other things he's trying to add, so we have to listen to what he has to say.
You shouldn't do them together because somebody might not want to vote yes on both of them or no on both of them. So let's take them one at a time. That's the way you're supposed to do it anyway.
Okay, now what you were saying again?
So yeah, motion to remove new business item D, Local Officers Compensation Commission determination.
I'll support that.
Can we have a discussion about that? I understand your point, the point that you're making, that to remove that is essentially inconsequential, but could not the same be said of when we have item K, that's just a receive and filing of the Planning Commission's annual report? So, and I mention
Yeah.
that because if we're gonna begin to just take things off purely because a vote yes or no may not affect the outcome, then that would mean that all these things on here, like the receiving and filing, should be taken off.
Sure. Yeah, Councilwoman Cobb Muniz, yeah, no, the reason is because the ordinance says, quote, "The determination of the commission shall be effective 30 days following its filing with the city clerk unless rejected by the council. If the determination is rejected, the existing salary shall prevail." So it just becomes effective 30 days or else we reject it. Those are just the two options.
Right.
In the ordinance.
So my point was, then why not go through the formality of going through it and leaving it on as an agenda item in the event that a council person wants to have a discussion or reject it? I'm not understanding the logic behind removing it purely because you think it won't change the outcome.
No, I was saying that in addition. My main reason is because the ordinance says the only appropriate motion is to motion to reject it.
So who's to say that there wouldn't be a motion to reject?
That's what I'm saying. I was asking, it didn't sound like any
Oh,
council
I didn't
person
hear
put
you
it on
put
the
it forth as a question. Okay.
agenda. Right, did a council person put it on the agenda?
I can clarify as city clerk. I listed it on the agenda, so I've provided that copy to all of council. I wouldn't be able to take an action based off each individual member. In order to understand if the council as a whole rejects something, it does have to come to a council meeting for a vote to be taken place that you do want to reject it. It's also a place, as Councilmember Cobb Muniz has stated, for the public to receive a copy of the document. So at this time, it's published to all of the council members. Placing it on the agenda allows the rest of the community opportunity to be able to review the memo that was submitted from the Local Officers Compensation Commission to review and also provide feedback. So that is why I placed it on the agenda as the city manager's agenda.
Sure, so I guess in the future, let's add, and I know I've said this before, let's add who put something on the agenda, but also the ordinance states that only a council person puts it on the agenda if we want to vote to reject. You as the city manager should not be putting it on the agenda, according to the ordinance. It's only if a council person wants to reject it. That's how we'd done it until, I think it was on the agenda 2 years ago, but before that, we never had it on the agenda. The commission has its meeting, makes its determination, council gets a copy, we should be posting the minutes and the agenda on the website, and if somebody wants to reject it on council, then you put it on the agenda and we vote to reject it or not reject it.
I think I would be more concerned if it wasn't included from the standpoint of transparency. So, you know, it seems like a wasted bit of an argument in this right now.
I know, I understand what you're saying, Councilwoman Cobb Muniz, about transparency. That is just how the ordinance is written. I'm following the ordinance. So, I don't know. So, that's all.
Okay. Is there anything you want to take? Okay, we're at the approval of the agenda. Does anyone want to add or subtract?
Well, let's vote on this one.
Okay, let's vote on the motion. We got a motion and we got support. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember DeMonico,
Yes.
Councilmember Curley.
Yes?
Mayor Owens,
Yes.
Councilmember Baker,
No.
Councilmember Cobb Muniz.
No,
Go ahead, Councilman.
And then, thank you. The next item was I would want to table to remove the rope lighting ordinance from the agenda, which is new business G, discussion on ordinances number 1201 and 1202, would be my motion.
I'll support that motion to remove item G.
Was it to remove or to table?
Remove.
To remove.
again, if we can, now that we've gotten motion and support, from a discussion standpoint, I'd be interested to know why we would be removing that.
Just mostly because I think the only thing we've ever talked about more than this as a city is the medical marijuana ordinance. We talked about the planning commission, came to city council, voted, it was recommended to come back to the planning commission, went back to the planning commission, came back to city council again, and nobody's changed. It's been a year and a half, and now it's on our agenda magically again. Again, so who added this to the agenda, I guess, again?
We did. It was a recommendation from the Downtown Development Authority.
So, but you're, as city manager, you're recommending that we reverse course on that ordinance.
My recommendation is actually to send it over to the city attorney for review, as listed in the agenda.
Okay. So yes, I'm motioning we remove it, because I don't think, we've already talked about it, it's been in effect for a year and a half, and have we enforced this ordinance on anybody either?
So part of this is a discussion that can take place at the agenda item is part of my concern. I don't know, like I can answer and go through the questions, but we're having the same conversation at the approval of the agenda.
To that end, this is why we put the items on the agenda, so that we as council can go through and flush it out. It seems like we're trying to get around that process, and I'm call it newbieism. I'm just not understanding why, but at any rate.
We got motion and support, I believe. Please call the roll.
Councilmember DeMonico,
Yes.
Councilmember Curley,
Yes?
Mayor Owens,
No.
Councilmember Baker,
No.
Councilmember Cobb Muniz.
No,
Anyone else would like to add or subtract from this agenda? Okay, I would like to add and replace item D with the Local Officers Compensation Commission determination with the replacement of the fire engine, correct, for fixing it. Fixing the fire truck. I got motion and support. Please call the roll.
I apologize, I did not hear.
support.
Thank
Stacey
you.
Cobb Muniz.
Mayor Owens,
Yes.
Councilmember Cobb Muniz,
Yes.
Councilmember Baker,
Yes.
Councilmember Curley.
Yes?
Councilmember DeMonico.
Yes.
Okay. Next item is hearing of the public. The hearing of the public is now open. You get 3 minutes before the meeting and a little bit after, before we close. So the hearing of the public is now open. Guys, excuse my voice. I'm losing my voice, so please.
Point of inquiry / order from, go ahead.
Madam Mayor, I don't know as if there was an actual vote to approve the agenda. It was just for those different amendments. So now that those
Okay.
amendments, 2 of which have been passed and 1 which did not pass, then the actual motion to approve the agenda with the amendments should be made then by the council.
Okay, I thought we
Madam-
did that with the item D replacing with that. Okay.
Madam Mayor, I motion to approve
Thank
the agenda with the amendments.
Support?
Motion and support, please call the roll.
Councilmember Communis,
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico,
Yes.
Councilmember Baker,
Yes.
Councilmember Curley.
Yes?
Mayor Owens.
Yes, thank you. Now, the hearing of the public is now open. Good evening. Let me get the timer.
Well, good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. I just come to you to talk to you about the opioid settlement dollars that the city has received. I just want to make sure that the money is being spent in a good way to help the most of the citizens in the community that we can help. And I do understand that you received a letter from a certain organization trying to get that money to open an engagement center here in Macomb County to help people with addiction. And I emailed all of you a copy of a request for proposal that the county had already put out that they're funding that. So this organization is trying to come and get that money for something the county's already funding. And I also had emailed all of the council members and the mayor something put out by the Michigan Association of Counties that's called the Michigan Opioid Settlement Funds Toolkit, and it talks about how the money can be spent. It gives you evidence-based ideas of how it should be spent and best practices. And then I know also Macomb County Community Mental Health Office of Substance Abuse is willing to come and have discussions and maybe help guide you on best practices and how the money could be spent. And they don't want any of it. They have their own. So I'm not here trying to get any of that money from you. I just want to say I think we should use it appropriately and how it's going to best help the community. So I hope you had time to look these over, and then I believe that the Macomb County Office of Substance Abuse sent you a letter as well, explaining that they would provide services or like consultations with the mayor and city council on how to best spend the money. And one of my thoughts is, I know Judge Galen is really passionate about having a drug court here. That could be a pretty good way of helping get that started, you know? And I just want to offer myself too as a resource to you for conversations. And like I say, I don't want any of the money. I work in this field. You know, that's what I've been doing for over a decade, is helping people into recovery and people with addiction. So I'm out there on the streets every day. So you can always reach out to me if you have any questions, concerns. If I don't know an answer, I will find out for you. Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Kilgore.
Good evening, Council. I'm here to remind people that the second Community House Fair that is being conducted will be at Covenant Missionary Temple at 28491 Utica in Roseville. The flyers are still on the counter. Hope everyone will come and participate. They're doing blood pressure checks, glucose checks, and breast cancer screening. So it's beneficial to everyone who participate. Hope to see you all there Saturday, 10 o'clock. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I am here to speak about the accursed rope lighting. I was so hoping it was not going to stay on the agenda business, because most of this rope lighting that is on well after business hours. It does not add anything to this city. It makes it look like a carnival type atmosphere. If somebody tells me that rope lighting helps with security, I would say install some lights above your building. Paul's Mini Market across the street from Cloverleaf did just that. Looks beautiful. Nice lights, shine down on the sidewalk, everybody's nice and safe. Does not look like a circus. If you're telling me that it somehow brings business, if the lights are on at 10 o'clock at night,
Hello, Cindy Federle, Eastpointe resident, and I just want to reiterate Mr. DeHaant's comments. We should be done with talking about rope lighting. It's been discussed, residents don't want it, it should be done. Now, for the agenda for tonight, I want to talk about the Smart Cities Connect Spring Conference and Expo that Mayor Owens has asked to attend. The agenda for that meeting appears to benefit those that actually work for a city, not a mayor that is unable to implement change. If the city is choosing to send Susan Lucido to attend her last conference, council should use the city money as though it was coming from their personal budget. We don't have extra money waiting to be spent. I also want to express support for the fire department. If we have $350,000 to spend on one car and one employee from MedStar, why not use that money to improve benefits to make it more lucrative for new hires? I don't understand the workings of the department, but one person in one car cannot transport a medical emergency by themselves. So this proposal makes no sense to me, and I'd really like that explained better. And when items are put on the agenda like the rope lighting, citing the ordinance number does me no good. It would be nice if that was explained a little bit better on the agenda. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Elizabeth Ware. I'm an Eastpointe resident. So what I want to talk about is not on the agenda, but I had a fence installed maybe 3 years ago now. Your company from the city came out and inspected it. Everything was good. Late last year, September, October, somebody else came out and said, this fence is backwards, you got to flip it the other way. I said, well, why they didn't say that when they approved the fence? It's 2.5, 3 years later, now you want us to flip a fence that was already like that. Took us to court and everything for it. Because the guy said it's wrong. And he said to come till they got done talking. First thing police officer said, what you doing here? I'm not bothering you. I'm here to make sure my sister and my nieces and nephews are okay. That's it. They had an accident around the corner from my house, leaving my house. Why wouldn't I come make sure they're okay? He was absolutely rude. I even called the police station. I think I talked to his chief. And he said, well, they were coming from a situation where guns were involved, so they were kind of heightened. I don't get that as an excuse for me standing on the sidewalk, not interrupting your investigation just to make sure they're okay after you talk to them. Thank you.
Thank you. I think this was your first meeting, correct?
Yes.
Keep coming.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. Joe Zangari, Eastpointe Firefighters Association, Local 1561 President.
Jason Frattini, Vice President, Local 1561.
So here tonight, I just really want to thank everybody for the candid conversation we had at the last meeting. I believe our dialogue helped put us in the right direction. In regards to the direction that we received from, that the union and the city both received, just want to report back that the process is working. Our board, along with the city, has met a couple times to discuss the hiring standards. The city is in possession of a proposal that allows them to hire basic EMTs ASAP. This was a good faith concession made by the union, and we made it for two reasons. One, this was the directive that we heard loud and clear from Madam Mayor and the rest of council. And the second one, and the most important one, is it's what's best for our residents. We serve them. The current hiring challenges aside, we're looking forward to getting this finalized in the next couple days, I would imagine. I've had an in-depth conversation with the fire chief regarding hiring and training these new firefighters. I believe we have roughly 12 applicants right now. we're looking to fill these vacancies as soon as possible. So again, I'm sure you received the same report from the city manager. I just wanted to give you it from our perspective. We have heeded your advice, and we're moving forward with this. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. Gerald Burek, 28673 Sunray, Chesterfield, Michigan. I'm here for other business too. I just want to warn you and the citizens of Eastpointe about wide-scale corruption in Harper Woods. Those are the police reports I had to sue Jeff Manor, the police department, and City Clerk Mickey Todd to get of Paul Joseph Vella trying to kill 3 people in Harper Woods because they've done everything they could to cover up and still are. He's mafia. And the last time I was here was 2018, asking how much it costs to get away with attempted murder of 3 people in Harper Woods. That's when Ted Stagger came to my house and threatened to arrest me if I go back there to City Council and ask how much it costs to get away with attempted murder of 3 people there. So that was in 2018. So in 2019, on February 5th and 19th, I went to Detroit City Council with these police reports. But I went before Spivey and Leland, both corrupt council members complaining about wide-scale corruption in Harper Woods. I was told to go to Tim Keelan with Wayne County Commission, which I gave these police reports to, and he refuses to respond. I've been emailing him ever since 2019. Dana Nessels blocked me from emailing these police reports. And attorney William Trooper tried to get me to pay off Harper Woods. When Jeff Manor, Robert John Vitale, was also Monicani, Tricanelli, and Dan Lavisa. Those were his aliases. Ronald Gilman, Miglio, and Skatarzik helped him break into my house and swore he never tried to kill 3 people there, and I have to prove it. Well, I've done that. There's your evidence right there. I'd also like to know, has anybody been charged with the murder of Priscilla Slater in Harper Woods? I don't think anybody's been charged, have they? After the McBride Rapist Squad raped her. And I'm saying that Harper Woods is even worse than Detroit and Roseville's police departments, which are both featured on the freethoughtsproject.com. If you could search that, both those cities, I don't think it even ends on Detroit's, but I was there when they framed Amy Preston. I was framed also by that hit-and-run drunk driving judge, suicide drunk driving judge, Catherine Steen, that had really good results in their city council because she killed herself. And they got rid of James Berlin, who likes to kill cats and dogs. And I think we have enough of that. I just like to say that our Department of Justice has wide-scale corruption, and that's in License to Lie by Sidney Powell, and her website is defendingtherepublic.org. If you want to know the truth about COVID, that's in The Real Anthony Fauci by Robert Kennedy Jr., and Plague of Corruption by Dr. Judy Mikovits. And also check out the Genocide Treaty and Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars on stopthecrime.net. May the hand of God be with you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. Sheila Alinsky, Eastpointe resident. I'm here to talk on the rope lighting. So in the letter in the packet, Mr. DeHaan and Commissioner Lubeck has also sent an email regarding this of all the times we've visited and revisited it. And I have to say, in this letter, it says most lights were installed prior to the ordinance being amended. That is not true. There were very few lights that were starting to come up at the time that this was brought up in Planning Commission. Most of the lights have come after the ordinance. And the cost to remove them, well, you just have to unplug them. There's no cost to remove them. Did you look at the ordinance before you installed them, is what I'd like to ask most business owners. They do not bring the business to your place. There is nothing you can find online for these rope lighting as a safety feature. They are merely decorative and obnoxious. The other thing was that the most zoning amendments being retroactive. these are not retroactive. These are something that we want to see going forward as presenting our city as a most beautiful place. And that's not with lighting. That is with the businesses and the people and the community. So if you have questions, there's a couple of us planning commissioners here if you need more on this. But we respect the DDA, but don't agree with their reasoning on this and can't find any justification other than they're saying the cost. I'd like to see proof, if they have it, that their businesses have increased because of the lighting. The second thing that I just want to bring up is kind of a suggestion for residents applying for commissions or boards. I've noticed on applications that the applications are not filled in completely. In most commissions and boards, we need to dot our I's and cross our T's. And I'm just worried that if you're not filling out an application correctly and completely, that I can't help but wonder how you're going to do on a board or commission. I think we should just take a closer look at applications going forward if we could. Thank you.
Good evening, Council and Mayor and Council. Linda Flans, Eastpointe resident. I just wanted to talk about the commercial truck parking at the Big Boy. It started out with like 1 or 2, and now we're up to 7 commercial trucks that were parked over the weekend. And it's getting to the point where the residents feel like we have a truck stop at the end of our street with that many vehicles. So I don't know if you can do anything about that. But if you can look into it, I'd appreciate it. And then the other thing I want to briefly touch on is the rope lighting. I've spoken against it. This is like the 4th time that it's come before council. I do not support them at all. I think they're just
fine. Using my money and my tax money to help her move forward and push forward with our with the improvement and innovations in this city. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Annetta Simpson, and I'm a visitor of Eastpointe. I've been out here at a couple meetings, and I've been hearing some of your minutes and some of your concerns, and I am aware of some of your concerns, like you saying that the mayor is taking a time out in other cities and things like that, but I think that's a plus, because if you go around to other cities and other officials that's running the city, you can have input, and
State revolving fund, sanitary sewer improvements program. That is now open for those that would like to speak. Okay, how you doing, Mr. Kern?
Good, how you doing?
My voice is almost gone, so excuse me. So I know you're gonna do a presentation on this, and you have the floor. If you want to, any other residents want to comment after, you have that opportunity.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor and Council. Good evening. Give a brief, be brief as far as what this program is. You're all aware that we've been cleaning and televising the sanitary sewer system. We started back in 2021 with cleaning and televising the entire city's sewer system, and we expect to have the entire city cleaned like this. It requires a project plan be put together, and those project plans are due for this coming year, are due on May 1st. So what we're proposing is to apply for a low-interest loan, 20-year loan. It's typically about 2 to 2.5% interest, although the last couple of years it's been as low as 1.875% to complete these repairs. What's more important this year for applying for it is that the federal infrastructure dollars that are coming down the pipeline for water and sewer projects, those funds are being funneled through this loan program. Rehabilitation where needed, where there's cracked and broken pipe, again, that was rated critical or high. The state revolving fund program will only fund those locations that were rated critical or high. If we were to do the entire program, address all of the defects, the minor defects that we had identified, you'd be looking at about a $17 million project. But with this program, we can only fund critical and high. And it's also recommended that the city cleans and televises the sewer system every 5 years to keep up with, obviously with maintenance, but also to address any further defects that are found. So in order to submit the project plan, there is a 15-day public comment period that started on April 10th and ends this evening with this public hearing. To get any public comments that anybody might have in regards to the take place from April 10th through 25th. It was posted here at City Hall, and I believe on the
Newspaper.
So
Perhaps it should have been mentioned at the last council meeting or something. It's just my suggestion.
It was at in the March 21st council meeting. It was approved to have this meeting on this date.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other comments? Yes.
Wanda Moody, East Point resident. You were saying that the loan is at a 2.5% interest rate and that there's a possibility of having a loan forgiveness. What happens if we are not in the category of having a loan forgiveness? Will the city of East Point then have to pay roughly, I think you were saying somewhere in the area of 15 million?
If the city does not get any principal forgiveness, they could choose not to move forward with the program. But if the city were to proceed without loan forgiveness, then yes, over a 20-year period, that almost $5 million would have to be paid back with roughly 2 to 2.5% interest.
Okay, so you too were saying that what you're doing now, there's a possibility, well, no, you didn't say possibility. You say you will have to reevaluate and look at the work you've done now every 5 years? So we're looking at millions of dollars every 5 years?
No, the evaluation, the city has, the bid for cleaning and televising the sewers citywide was about $1.2 million. That's been over a 2.5-year period. It's recommended that it's done every 5 years just to keep up with the system, to maintain the system and to address any further defects that might be encountered.
Okay, I apologize for my ignorance, but what causes the having to redo this possibly every 5 years? Is it something that the residents are doing with the flushing or the using of their water? What causes the piping to need to be reevaluated every 5 years?
Well, one is the age of the system. The original sewers that were installed in the city are almost 100 years old. Design life of sewers is usually about 50 to 80 years. So, settlement of the ground, just the condition, soil conditions, or several factors that could go into a sewer, cracks or collapsed sewer taking place.
Okay, with that being said, and I apologize, so with that being said, if the structure we've had in place for approximately 100 years, and we're re-innovating and using newer materials, what would make that have to be redone in 5 years?
All it is an evaluation of, every 5 years would be an evaluation. We're not doing any repair necessarily.
Okay. New Division 10, Teen Advisory Commission of the Ordinance of the City of East Point. Council.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to give second reading to and adopt ordinance number 23-1232, an ordinance to amend Chapter 2 Administration, Article 5, Boards and Commissions, creating a new Division 10, Teen Advisory Commission of the ordinances of the City of East Point.
Support.
Discussion.
Yeah, Mayor, I just wanted to offer a couple minor amendments if anyone was interested. The first one would just be motion to amend the ordinance to include 2 Southlake High School student ambassadors between ages of 13 and 18 also.
They're a part of East Point in what way? From a voting district standpoint?
Yes, yeah, a couple of our precincts are in the Southlake School District.
Yeah, my kids are in the South Lake School District.
Yeah, like the mayor's.
Understood, but your children are also East Point residents. So to Councilman Baker's point, they're already included in section 2-524.43.
Right, he's talking about ambassadors of the high school. The other high school should be able to also be ambassadors too.
And I think that's, to that extent, I think that's where we get into the weeds a little bit and begin to make this.
Even if they're, I don't have a voice right now. So I know, as the councilman was saying, we have ambassadors that are going to be at the high school, correct? So even if they don't go to the high school, they can also be ambassadors as well?
Yes, so
Okay.
the way that this is written is it's written pertaining to your residency as an East Point resident between the ages of 13 and 18. And like I shared at our last meeting, we have about close to 2,000 residents in the city of East Point who are between the ages of 13 and 18. And of those, we only have about 569, give or take, at our local high school, which means we've got to find a way to engage all of our East Point teen residents. So the hope and the goal of this is to draw them in, and hopefully that'll even begin to draw students back.
We got that. We just talking about the high school as far as ambassadors. So how?
And I understand your point to that extent, and all I'm saying is that if an East Point student attends South Lake School, they are already covered under this ordinance under 254.43. They're already covered under the membership qualifications merely because they are a resident of the city of East Point. It doesn't matter what school they go to. They're a resident of the city of East Point, so if they go to South Lake, if they go wherever, if they're a resident of the city of East Point, they can apply to this commission. So those students who are in our electorate attending South Lake can apply, and it doesn't require the addition or for us to open up any further the ex officio membership.
Okay, Councilman.
Mayor, two things. I guess first, not all boards are all residents. The Downtown Development Authority has business owners in it who may not necessarily live in the city. And the Rare Board's a couple people from our city, a couple from Roseville, and then the fifth member is selected by those four. Or the civil, no, never mind, take that back. Civil Service Commission are all residents. But then the other point, I thought it was just more consistent. If we were going to have the student ambassador, either it should be, I just thought, as a policy standpoint, it should either be both high schools should have 2 ambassadors or neither. That's all. That was the only reason I was suggesting it. So.
That's what I was thinking too. Just giving the opportunity for the other high school to have an ambassador. That's what we were saying. We know all East Point children. I got that locked. I'm trying to go to the other part of what he was trying to bring about. And I don't want to make this too long because we did this too long for already. But you understand what we were trying to say about making an ambassador. So if they go to South Lake, can they be an ambassador just like a high school person at the East Point?
If they're an East Point resident,
they can.
No matter what school they attend, including South Lake, they can apply to this team.
And they can be an ambassador at the school, right?
No, Madam Mayor, Councilman DeMonico made that amendment about 15 minutes ago, and I didn't write it down, so what are we voting on? Can you specifically read what the amendment will officially say?
Sure you want me to do, Mayor? Sure, yeah, the motion was to amend the ordinance to include 2 South Lake High School student ambassadors, which is in section 48 about ex officio members between the ages of 13 and 18. Because 2 precincts in East Point belong to the South Lake School District.
So I'm reading your amendment in my mind. You're saying South Lake High School, comma, whose students are from the city of East Point. But
No.
your amendment's not saying that.
No, this was the portion that we were given the option for 2 East Point High School students that weren't residents to be ex officio members. This was to add South Lake in.
The children that are in East Point residents, say that one more time. The children that are in East Point residents, say that one more time, because you said that.
It's the same thing. So, yeah, I'm intending for it to be the same as the 2 East Point High School student ambassadors. Those are the ones that don't have voting representation on it, go to East Point High School, but are not necessarily residents. It would just be the same thing. 2 South Lake High School student ambassadors, if they are interested, like say one of their, they go to high school at South Lake with someone who does live in East Point, and they want to be on.
It's in the city of East Point, and what she's saying, because South Lake is not in the city of East Point, we shouldn't have those children out, in that school, because it's not in East Point.
This sentence right here, last time we talked about it, the 2 East Point High School student ambassadors as designated by the principal, and this ex officio members, they're not voting members. That was intended for non-resident
But the-
students.
But it's
But-
in East Point though, correct? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Just,
Sorry, to give a couple clarifications, since we also have another 25% who are not. And so we want it to be inclusive and allow the leadership at the school to be able to pick 2 East Point students who are investing in East Point because they're attending East Point High School to participate on this committee. That being said, that's a totally different scenario in my mind's eye from South Lake High School, which may happen to have some East Point residents, a very much smaller percentage. I'm sure it's not even 50% of East Point residents. And I think without having that data, we would be.
questions how they think we could improve East Point. You start opening it up to South Lake High School, whatever, Roseville, Warren, Harper Woods. This ordinance is specifically saying, hey, kids of East Point, you've lived here, you're 13 years old, you're 17 years old, and you may have an idea that the 5 of us, well, that wouldn't be surprising, the 5 of us never thought about it, that they may have ideas that we think is a damn good idea. So why would, enough said, that's it, I'm done.
I think Councilman Baker.
Oh, yeah, no, it just, thank you. It just seemed like the general consensus at the table, or the majority, is to leave it as stands, just listening to the discussion that was had, and now that my understanding is you withdrew your support.
And support, it can be withdrawn as long as the motion hasn't been restated by the mayor. And I don't think that this particular amendment was actually restated. I think there was just a motion made in a second, and that was it. There was no.
Yeah, and then I would.
Restated. I don't recall that if Councilmember DeMonico actually did restate it, or if the motion was restated, but.
I thought the mayor had to restate it, you just said. Or he has to restate it.
Yeah, you had me. All right, let's just move on.
Let's withdraw it.
then.
Let's move forward. Okay, Councilman.
Clearly, it's not going to pass. I thought that was my least consequential suggestion here, but I've got just a couple other minor suggestions. I was just going to motion to amend that they have a minimum of 4 meetings a year, just consistent with other commissions, and then they can create their own schedule if they want to do it twice a month, so that they're not required to have twice a month. Just thought it was a heavy burden. So my motion would be to make it a 4 meeting per year minimum, and they can, of course, schedule as many meetings as they would like instead of bi-monthly. All right, my other idea was to motion to remove the budget clause, number 49.
Walton?
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Happy Tuesday. It's Taco Tuesday.
My favorite day.
Okay. All right, so we'll kick it off. Mayor's petitions were due today at 4 p.m. We will be scheduling an election commission meeting coming up soon, so please pay attention. If you're interested in attending that for the certification, we'll be posting that online once we organize some dates with the commission. In the middle of May, we are planning for the call for council petitions. We have 2 council seats that will be up this year on the ballot in November. So the call for those petitions will come out in mid-May, again, online. It'll be posted on the cable channel website, and also information will be available at the clerk's office as well. 9 Mile Road construction is beginning on May 8th. Yay, so much excitement. We're getting a new road on 9 Mile, and we appreciate all the work that Ryan has been putting in, as well as our DPW. At the library, there's a DIA event that highlights pop art. So pop art from the 1960s to 75s. So if you want to stop by Thursday, April 27th at 6:30, the DIA has an event at the library. I think it's going to be incredible. A lot of the art, I know they've done some downtown at the DIA specifically, and then they've also advertised some, like the cartoons and the incredible art that they have. So they're doing a special session over at the library on Thursday. We also posted bids for IT managed services. Mayor, I know you asked for an update on that last time. In the street resurfacing, 28 years. He was born and raised here in Eastpointe, graduated from East Detroit High School, and has worked here again for 28 years. Our Deputy Chief, Matthew Merlo, is retiring this Friday. It's a very sad loss for the city. He's an incredible guy, incredible officer, one of the most incredible officers I've ever had the opportunity to work with. And I think I say that for all of the directors, as well as Director Ruhib that has had the opportunity to work with him. He's taken just about every special assignment in this community, has done just about every task force, training, command and supervisory school.
A comment / question, I guess. So for code enforcement in the city, a couple residents put out there that they received a violation notice on Facebook, and I was looking at them, and I guess first the actual notice, second the actual violation. The notice doesn't really have enough information to even understand what ordinance was violated. It's not listed, it just says that we've discovered a violation of the Eastpointe zoning ordinance, and then it states like what you're not allowed to do, but it doesn't actually have any Mine is completely different though. It does reference the Michigan Building Code. I guess my question is, have we adopted the Michigan Building Code, I guess is one question. And second, I guess, why are we even, we've got semi-trucks, 7 of them now, I guess is the count, at Big Boy, and we haven't enforced rope lighting for over a year and a half, and we're focusing on cursive addresses. So I guess, sorry, that's a lot, but it was all code enforcement. Just wondering if you could address any of that.
Sure. So first, I'd highlight too, it's inaccurate to say that it's not been enforced.
We have access to asking you before the meeting, so you can be prepared to answer those questions, because I don't know if you know the whole Michigan code by heart.
I appreciate that.
That's amazing. But that was also going to our finance director, Mr. Blum. Good evening, Mr. Blum.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. I did send out a quarterly investment report that you should have received in your Friday packets. That is in response to a ongoing audit comment that apparently is supposed to be out quarterly.
All right, good evening, sir.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council. The question that was posed to Ms. Walton about the building code, I do believe that the city has adopted the building code as well as the property maintenance code. I'm not sure which additions have been actually adopted though, so I'll work with Ms. Walton and get in an answer for the council as to which additions have been adopted and when those adoptions took place. The Muni Code is in the process of updating the city's code of ordinances. I've been in contact with Emily Childers, who is an editor with Civic.
Public Safety Director, Director Rohib, if he has any updates. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mayor. First of all, I'd like to thank our City Manager for recognizing Deputy Chief Merlo. I worked with him for the last 5 years, and he's probably one of the most loyal employees that I ever worked with. He's done just an unbelievable job here. He will be truly missed. There's a rumor out there too about our animal control, that we don't have an animal control officer right now, and we do. We have a part.
Some of the things that she saw in our police department and things like that, but if you stay to the end and talk to our director about those things and those concerns, we have our directors here. They take time to listen. You know, I don't know the experience that you had, and as the mayor, I apologize about that, but we are doing better. But if we don't know how to do better if we don't listen to what's going on. So if you take time and talk to our director and get those things straight and let him work with you, I promise you it'll get better. So we have some good police officers in the city of Eastpointe, and like all of us up here, we're still learning. And if you give us a chance, we'll do better. So, but tell the deputy chief, I'm going to talk to him after this. We have a conversation, because he told me he wasn't going to leave, and I'm going to get him. So, but thank you for that. We're going to go to new business. Item A, adoption of resolution number 23-1957, adopting a final project planning document for wastewater system improvements and designating an authorized project representative.
So moved.
I second.
Motion is second. Any discussion on that? Seeing none, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Curley,
Yes?
Councilmember Baker,
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico,
Yes.
Mayor Owens.
Yes.
Councilmember Cobb Muniz.
Yes.
Item B, introduction and first reading ordinance number 23-1233, and ordinance amendment to Chapter 2, Administration, Article 5, Boards and Commissions, Division 7, Senior Citizens Advisory Commission of the Ordinances of the City of Eastpointe. Council.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to introduce and give first reading to ordinance number 23-1233 to amend Chapter 2, Administration, Article 5, Boards and Commissions, Division 7, Senior Citizens Advisory Commission of the Ordinances of the City of Eastpointe.
I would support that as a senior citizen.
Motion and support. Any discussion, sir?
Yeah, Mayor, one comment. I guess if we're changing this commission, I guess my comment, if we're changing this commission to be anyone on city council nominating, I think we should, to be consistent, do it with all of them. You know, Arts and Cultural Diversity Commission, Beautification, Library, local officers, Parks, ZBA are all mayor appointed. I don't know why we would just change just this one and not all of them, I guess. So I guess I'm against that change. I'm fine with starting the commission back up, and I think we've talked about that a few times, just up to appointing some people on the commission's back.
Well, I'm okay with it being a mayoral appointment, so if you want to change or amend the motion, I can amend the motion to just change the language to under, let me get to the right section, under 2-509, Section B, members of the commission shall be appointed by the mayor with the concurrence of a majority of the council. But to be honest, that's not a deal breaker for me. I just want to see this commission up and running. And if that means that I make a concession so that it's a mayoral appointment, that's fine.
I'm fine with how it was written. I was fine with how it was written, but if you got motion and support, you can call the roll.
I don't think we got support.
Did we get support? But I was gonna just leave, we can just leave it as is. I don't have a problem with council putting forth an opinion or a person up, and, you know, I don't have a problem with that. We all share the responsibilities of finding someone to, you know, do the job properly.
Sure. And then what about, so we're reducing the members also? Should we leave it at? I think we should leave it at 11, and I guess I thought about the alternate members for a minute. We have that for, you know, the Zoning Board of Appeals, and I don't believe, or in the Board of, well, I'll change kind of how that works. I don't know how the alternate members, I guess, would work.
You're going back to the old script with respect to alternate members?
Yeah, it's on, right, the current one says, instead of 11 members, it's 5 regular and 2 alternate.
Right, and 2 alternates, right. And the reason for the reduction, as I explained at our last meeting, the reason for the reduction was to ensure that we could have a quorum and not have to work so hard, particularly with this population. If you have a huge body, then you have a lot harder time getting together and getting them all together. I wouldn't want to create more barriers to them being able to meet and have a quorum.
Sure.
Yeah, I agree with that. Anything else? Okay, we have motion and support as is. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Cobb Muniz,
Yes.
Councilmember Curley,
Yes?
Councilmember DeMonico,
No.
Mayor Owens,
Yes.
Councilmember Baker.
Yes.
I'm actually excited about this. When I went to the Housing Commission and told the seniors about this, they were really excited. Like, where are the applications at, Mayor? I'm like, we got to put it together first, but they're really excited. So once that's together in my next meeting, I'll take some over there so they can sign up. So item C, adoption of resolution number 23-1958, authorization to apply for protecting Michigan Pension Grant Council.
Madam Mayor, I would move to adopt resolution number 23-1958, authorizing a finance director to apply for the Protecting Michigan Pension Grant and the city manager to sign all necessary documents.
Support.
Motion and support. Any discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Curley,
Yes?
Councilmember Communis.
Yes.
Mayor Owens.
Yes.
Councilmember Baker,
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico.
Yes.
Item D was replaced from the Local Officers Compensation Commission determination to Apollo Fire Engine, for us to fix the engine for our fire department. Council?
Can we discuss, or can
Yes, City
our city manager talk about this for a second, since we received it 40 minutes before the meeting started?
Absolutely. We actually provided information in my Friday report informing all of council directly after it was Apollo immediately order the parts so that we can get the truck as soon as possible.
Where did you say we received information about this?
In my Friday report.
It is not in your Friday report.
It is in one of my Friday reports. I detailed the damage to the fire engine, or the fire truck.
All right, well, it's it's not in the last one. But, okay, yeah,
The
so
damage
50
did not occur in the last week, council member.
Oh, we received this quote today, though, right? I've never seen this before.
Absolutely. So it's a last-minute purchase, as we know, once we've received all of the information, that we do not have another option other than to fix it. We're asking council to approve that tonight so that the parts can.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the special event application for Love Life Family Community Carnival on June 29th, 2023 through July 1st, 2023.
Second.
Motion and support, please call the roll.
Councilmember Communis.
Yes.
Councilmember Baker,
Yes.
Councilmember Curley,
Yes?
Councilmember DeMonico,
Yes.
Mayor Owens.
Yes. Item F, approval of the Planning Commission's recommendation regarding the special land use for 15,000 10 Mile. Council?
Mayor, I
Yes, sir.
will motion that we approve, or, hold on, let me, existing character, because there are 8 gas stations within a 3-mile stretch, 2 gas stations directly across the street, so the proposed use does not create a well-rounded, balanced, for example, harmonious neighborhood. Number 4, the project's proposed to be hazardous and disruptive to the community via potential ground and stormwater contamination, noise pollution, and odor pollution. Number 5, the project's not an improvement to the community because the U.S. is moving forward to becoming carbon neutral by 2050, and developing a new gas station contradicts these efforts to reduce the impacts of global climate change. And
purchased the property and is looking to develop it. And we appreciate the opportunity to address the council today. Really, we just want to address some of the things that were noted in the motion and the concerns that were raised before, in particular with the, excuse me, the issues regarding contamination is one of the things we wanted to address. We think that those fears are somewhat unfounded now. I do appreciate that historically there's been some contamination with underground storage tanks. However, those tanks were built and installed 30, 40 years ago. They were single-walled steel-lined tanks. So the single wall being that there was only one wall there, the steel was being a problem because it can lead to rust and deterioration. The tanks that are installed now, and this is not at this gas station, but all gas stations, are fiberglass tanks, so you don't have the concern with the rust, and they are double-walled, meaning that there is an inner wall which contains the fuel, the gasoline, and there's an outer wall which acts as a sort of a second layer of protection. The tanks now are monitored internally, so that if there is an issue with the internal wall, the operator of the gas station receives a notice, and they know to shut everything down, and they can immediately get somebody out there. Go ahead.
And this is a graph of how is the system work altogether. This is the underground tank, and then I lined up, this is what he said just about the double wall. The double wall containment is when a tank leak from the inside, the gas is contained on the second compartment, which surround the first one. The monitor that you talked about, this is the monitor which is inside the gas station. If there is any sign,
I don't mean to interrupt you. Do you have a copy for all of us to see individually? Because showing us that.
I can leave that with you for all, but
No, I thought you would probably make copies for all of us can individually see it, and while you're describing it, you holding it up, and then, yeah, so it's kind of.
I can get closer, but this is a monitor.
Thank you.
The monitor system is very sensitive, it's accurate, and then if there is any leak,
So, in addition, I know one of the concerns had to do with the removal of the tanks. That has to do with the location of the gas station. I appreciate that there are other gas stations along that 10-mile corridor. However, all of those gas stations are located on the north side of 10 Mile. This gas station will be located on the south side of 10 Mile. And we believe that it would actually help with the flow of traffic at that corner to the extent, and that was a concern raised by some of the citizens at the Planning Commission meetings. We wanted to address that as well. This gas station would primarily service residents who lived.
Coverage from the state of Michigan. From the state of Michigan. Under the law, we are protected. They have several gas stations. They are under this. They demand from us several conditions. One of them is like the bond, or you can do a financial test, self-insurance, and they won't insure you unless if you are, under these conditions, And I do have my certificate here with me. Would like to take a look at that too, for the insurance. So,
No, I don't know if council wants to see that. It's up to you. I don't need to see it. But we have a motion and we have a support, and we want to give you the opportunity to speak on it. And before we put the zoning, and I know Mara at the mic so we all can hear you, please.
when I came into the city, this is a B3 zoning. It was a special use permit. There was no master plan for future approval. I was under the impression that this is a B3, it's zoned properly, I can submit. I've been doing this for a long time. I submit for a B3 zoning with a special use permit. If you meet all the conditions, everything is done properly, perfect. During the end, the process, then we learned that this is coming soon. So we rushed and submitted all the plans and the application to meet this requirement. But right now, I purchased a property, I cure a lot of cost, I'm bringing people around me, that's costly. And then as a businessman, just to dump it on me at the end of the day, I feel like, this is a disappointment. And then I'm trying to do a good business. It's not a situated corner, to do a gas station. We've been doing this for a long time, and then we had my gas station go on the top list of my,
That's
supplier.
beautiful, but again, it has to meet what our city wants. And to be the size that we are, I don't think the residents want a city full of gas stations. So, even though that's a beautiful one, I think, but I want to ask a question, because you said you spent money into
Yes.
that location?
I bought the location. It was conditional to get some kind of a feedback from the city that we can.
I can make it a gas station, and then I spend all this money on, the architect work or whatever I need, and then we are paying the city of Eastpointe, but we know that that's not part of our master plan. Where do we come in the middle? Like, just say if he said, I'm buying this gas station, do we tell these people that they can't turn that into a gas station before they buy the gas station, then start spending all this money, and then once they spend the money and saying, okay, that doesn't meet our plans?
We can't reach out to every prospective business owner. So when the applicants do come forward, which Mr. J did come forward, and we had a great conversation, we have a friendly relationship, but I did communicate on September 27th of 2022, and I wrote this email because I knew that we needed to have the importance of having the record, but I did communicate September 27, 2022, that this business request to open up a drive-through gas station, or drive-through restaurant and a gas station is a special land use request. And I explained the process of how special land uses require a little bit more review. Legal attorney, I explained all of the fees. I explained the situation, and we are still pursuing this request. The applicant has communicated that they are interested in pursuing the request, so it is their right to do so. And now they're here before City Council, and I can talk a little bit about the review that we wrote, but you wanted me to address this. So the applicant was well aware of every process, and well aware of the non-refundable fee, and well aware of the change of city discourse and culture around drive-throughs and gas stations.
Did you let him know that wasn't part of our plan, our future planning?
I definitely did, on September 27th, 2022.
Okay. This is not court, this is.
I understand, but I'm sorry, but when I approached it was a B3?
As a city, to let you know that you may not be approved. As a city, to let you know that you may not be approved. And you just said you knew that too. So, as a elected official, and all of the elected officials up here, that's our job to be fair. And I think we were fair to you. We didn't take your money and then told you that you may be able to get it. She let you know the risk and things like that, the cost, and you took that risk. Correct?
No.
Now you're saying no. Now we have to move forward.
Under the B3 zoning, I understand my risk. Under the rezoning of the plan, I could have pulled out a long time ago.
Okay.
So under the new master plan, that wasn't my risk. So that's
Okay.
the only thing I'm trying to.
City of Eastpointe, and if you talk to Ms. Mara, she can tell you other things that will fit in the plan and will fit over there that you may be interested in for the residents of Eastpointe, and we appreciate you. Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir. All right.
I'll just state, I mean,
Okay, yeah. I think, did we have motion and support on this? I think we did.
Can I ask one question for clarification?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't want to mess up your last name, so Mara. Quick question, because this is a question that I have had as well with respect to the employment of our new zoning ordinance, as well as the direction that we're going in. How close in time between his original request and
Station. And then we talk about brownfields in the master plan, and we want to eliminate the brownfields within the city. And a brownfield defined by the Environment Protection Agency is a real or perceived contamination to land, real or perceived. There might be the latest technology in piping, but we all know pipes leak. So we want to eliminate brownfields, which is part of the master plan. And moving forward to the next, if you want me to go through all of the standards,
my
I can.
question was purely based off of when his attack was in September of 2022.
Yes.
You responded to him in September of 2022, letting him know that it was not in keeping with our plan.
Yes.
That's all I need to know. Thank you.
And I would also like to add that I enjoyed our conversations, and we would like to facilitate a new business there. We want to help new businesses come to Eastpointe. They just have to follow through with the standards of the ordinance. Thank you.
You did. No, we're done.
It's very complex, and it's for, both reasons on both sides. I guess I just wanted to say that because it's not like at least to me, a straightforward, like, gentleman said, he's taking a risk going forward, the special land use. But also, of course, we've got lots of plans, but there's like wiggle room, maybe that's what the gentleman, even somebody said that, for this. So I guess.
As a collective community and said we wanted to reflect. And another gas station, when you have 8 within a 3-mile radius, does not appear to be in our best interest.
Anyone else would like to speak at this time? Council? Now, did I do a motion and support? We did a lot of conversation. Okay. Motion and support. Please call the roll.
Councilmember DeMonico,
Can I just, point of clarification just before we vote, since it was so long ago?
I actually just,
Okay.
I just had a couple of questions for clarification on this. I think I understand everyone's point that time has been well spent with respect to the string and rope lighting, but I did have a couple of questions. I wanted to start with Mr. Albright. If you're able to tell us, have we had cases that have come before the court with respect to enforcement of the ordinances regarding the rope lighting?
Thank you, Councilmember. I had that discussion.
Come of those?
My understanding is that they were not enforced. Nothing moved forward on those cases. They were dismissed.
So one thing that I think would help us, especially if the goal of Planning Commission, the goal of this body is to end this conversation and not keep coming back here, at least from me, from the new person stepping in, it would be helpful to know, one, if we've had cases actually go forward, what the outcome of those were. If the outcome was to weigh in and make sure that if we're going to have an ordinance, that it's actionable, or make a recommendation to us to remove the ordinance. Council?
Sure, Mayor. So looking at the recommended motion, it says to direct the city attorney to amend the applicable ordinances to comply with the Michigan Building Code. How did we come to that conclusion? Ms. Walton, have you talked to?
We've been told that this is a place-making tool such that if someone drives by, you know that business is open and will be there tomorrow. One of the biggest issues is the retroactive application of this ordinance. It's just unlike any other ordinances that are adopted and unlike best practices. For instance, the DDA in 2013, the ordinance was completely changed such as to make 80% of the businesses in the DDA considered to be a non-conforming use. They were not required to go, they were not required to change things, but they were just non-conforming, and such non-conforming uses were not allowed to open in the DDA as a new business. This is something I think the DDA board believes that there are costs on business owners who are struggling right now. It was noted that many of the businesses that have these lights are small businesses, they're not the chains. They are your sole proprietors, people who have chosen to invest in the city. It was pointed out that there may be many minority owners or owners of color, business owners of color. But again, the strongest thing is really this retroactive application. There are certain businesses that have opened.
As a city, whether or not we, how many cases have actually been ticketed, what happened with those, what was the disposition and the outcome of those, and if the court made a ruling in favor of the defendants, what was the reason behind the ruling, so that we can better understand and hopefully put this to bed once and for all.
Okay. Sure, include all of that, I guess, city admin, if you could help the city attorney with that, I guess. I know that's probably a lengthy motion, but if everyone's okay with that, that'd be the motion then with what Councilwoman Cobb-Muniz said.
So support.
Yeah, Madam Mayor, I would agree with the motion to ask our city attorney to take a look at this. Obviously, there's a lot of confusion, and perhaps something has to be rewritten from it, because what I keep getting with conversations I had with different folks, that they said that this is not written properly, which kind of surprises me that when we adopted it in 2019, we all seemed to think that it was golden, it was great. And now I'm hearing all kinds of stories that it can't be adopted. People have gone to court and
Reality of the city's ordinance. I believe, and I'm speaking for the Planning Commission now, when this whole debate came to the Planning Commission's attention, the issue of rope lighting was something of not a permanent situation. It wasn't affixed to the property. There were businesses, and I know that we have members of the Planning Commission here, that it was simply something that was purchased in a store and maybe put up in a window or something like that. There was no permanent nature associated with this rope lighting. For instance, if somebody installed some type of light on a post in their front yard, and then the city decided to prohibit, that would be on record here at the city. then the issue then also becomes, how long have this rope lighting been at the subject property? I'm not sure how many commercial properties have this type of lighting for their business. That's one question. The next question is, okay, in what way is it affixed to the business itself? Is this merely strung in the windows or outside, or is it actually permanently fastened to the business and hooked up in such a way that it's not merely plugging it into an outlet when you open up your business or close your business, but it's actually attached to the electrical system of the structure itself? So those are all questions as well that I think the building department would want to know. And those are things that can perhaps be included in any revisions to the order.
Direction that administration has been given, albeit from the planning commission or others, is not simply temporary lights. And the examples and the lists that have been received by city administration reporting these lights are businesses that have the permanent fixtures. But there is a lot of discrepancy as to, and again, we can go into the minutia, but there is definitely differential treatment as to what is and what is not. For instance, if the administration wants to put lighting in the children's garden above the garden, such as many of the courtyards, that's actually going to be strings with lights. Is that string lighting? That's something that the DDA is looking at doing, is decorating the garden, such as in many of the placemaking the best practices.
Want to do it to my business, but then you don't know that you can't do it usually until the ordinance, but you already spent $4,000 and things like that. You can't take it back. So I think that I want to know, once we made this ordinance, did we allow the business owners to know that this is the new ordinance and this is how we're going to enforce it and get their input? Because I don't even remember, a lot of I remember when we created it and business owners called me, they emailed me and said, "Mary, what is this?" They blame me, of course. But then I also had some of those business owners at that time voice their opinion and say why they should have it and why they shouldn't have it and things like that, and they did. But I want to know, how did we let the business owners know, okay, this is a new ordinance? Because I know if, as a business owner myself, and I seeing lights and things like that, like that's kind of neat. And then I buy it, then I spend $5,000.
Certified letters were sent to 700, 800 businesses saying that this was now a violation. Of course, it's very hard to send a letter to a new business that hasn't opened yet, but all the current businesses were notified that this would now be considered a violation.
Okay.
And they would not be grandfathered in. And then, again, within the past year and a half, another certified mailing has gone out, again, 700-something businesses, close to $5,000, again, notifying all the businesses that this is, no one was grandfathered in, and that it would be a violation to have those lights.
Yes, sir.
Kim, I don't remember, wasn't there a time period, though, like, the ordinance didn't take immediate effect? Wasn't there a lag of either a couple weeks or a couple months? I forget. I know it was a while back.
Okay. Those are just some of the questions that I had with that. Council, anything else? I think we had a motion and support for administration to move forward. Motion and support, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Yes.
Councilmember Cobb Muniz?
Yes.
Mayor Owens?
Yes.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Curley.
Item H, thank you, Ms. Holman. Item H, introduce and give first reading to the amended zoning ordinance. Council.
Madam Mayor, I would move to introduce and give first reading to the amended zoning ordinance and schedule the zoning ordinance for a second reading and consideration of adoption at the regular.
City, near you. Zoning ordinance is being updated tonight.
I'm ready to be updated. Goodbye.
Oh, come on. Those are our planning commission
The
colleagues.
planning commission people left during the zoning ordinance.
Okay, well, we can probably do this in 6 minutes.
So I'm timing you, I'm just playing go.
Okay.
Go ahead. Thank you.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to present all of our hard work regarding the zoning ordinance update tonight. A lot of key figures here have contributed greatly to the success of the zoning ordinance update. I'd like to give a shout out to our city manager. The way to implement all of our master plans, our 9-mile strategic corridor plan is through the zoning ordinance update. So we had a meeting and with administration and acknowledged some pain points or challenges within the existing ordinance. And we put together a list of high priorities from the meeting results. And the top priority was a streamlined development review process. Well, you can see that we did that in Article 12. Another example is we uplifted Kelly Road and 9-mile corridors to create mixed-use district. Well, we did that in Articles 2 and 4. So we are acknowledging that we heard you and we've changed our ordinance considerably. We entered a partnership. This is what I want to talk to you about at the beginning. We are forming a partnership and continued relationship with the Michigan Economic Development Corporation Redevelopment Ready team and the Redevelopment Ready communities. I think you saw the letter of support in your packet, but they have spoken heaps and bounds about this project and how we are creating an innovative way to engage with steering committees and also update a zoning ordinance. And the ending result of our zoning ordinance is innovative, it's best of its kind, and the Michigan Economic Development Corporation wants to use us as an example. So congratulations, that's why we gave all the claps around. Congratulations everyone for all of your hard work. We can see our community partners here. The MEDC also helped support in funding the project, which is pivotal to move this forward. Now we're talking about the project itself. Here are the talking points for the project. The project prioritized community engagement, I'll say that. We also want to show some foundations for the update, some information that we pulled from to get to update the ordinance. We created interactive worksheets. We'll outline our key changes and the accolades that we received so far. So the project is founded in community engagement. As you can see, we have a list of community engagement opportunities that wrote the ordinance itself. Staff facilitated, the community wrote the ordinance. I would like to highlight the 7 steering committee meetings. That's why I wanted to give all the round of applause. The planning commissioners who just left because they talked about it 11 times. And we featured this at the Gratiot Cruise, and we also had public participation boards. This is Gratiot Cruise. Public participation boards at City Hall. Hopefully some of you had the opportunity to put your sticky where you wanted to see the most change. Here's our final steering committee meeting. Beautiful. Really, really beautiful, you guys. Okay. Foundation for the project. So these are documents that we use to create the project. This is existing text and research and best practices from urban planning that we pulled from. Of course, we used the master plan, the 2040 master plan, and also the 9-mile strategic corridor plan. Along that, we also used the image of the city by Kevin Lynch, which is a staple for urban planners, and also the high cost of free parking, which is also another staple book for urban planners. And within the steering committee, we created interactive worksheets. And actually, we're using our interactive worksheets material to apply for an award with the Michigan Association of Planning. We think that we demonstrated a best practice through laying the foundation of our worksheets in education. We use education as a tool to garner support and understanding of technical urban planning practices. So you can see we had some fun with the worksheets. We had a quest for discovering missing middle. We had a bingo chart to discover what kind of land uses we wanted in the city. What else? We decided on facade materials, so exterior building materials, the good, the bad, the ugly. We had some fun and we made planning topics approachable that usually are more technical. The worksheets, here are some examples. Bingo. And more examples. Okay, so now we're at the key changes part. I think we have 2 minutes left, which is great. Article 2, my colleague Laura Haw, Senior Principal Planner, will take this away.
Okay, great. Thank you, everyone. So we'll keep this part short, but we did want to highlight some of the key changes in the zoning ordinance update that were really necessary to streamline it and make it more user-friendly. So in the zoning ordinance that you have, if you wanted to go to page 6, this contains the new lists of zoning districts. And you'll note that we consolidated districts. So before, the city used to have like 5 different residential districts. Now there's only 2 for ease of development. We created these mixed-use districts that align better with the city's existing commercial corridors. So there's, specific mixed-use districts for Kelly, 10 Mile, Stevens, a different mixed-use corridor for 9 Mile, and then also 8 Mile and Gratiot are treated differently in that respect, with the intensity of uses building based on the intensity of the corridors. We also created this summary use table, and this is on, this is on page 6, I believe. I'm sorry.
9.
Yes, this is on page 9. So this presents an at-a-glance look at the different uses that are allowed in the city and where they can go based on those zoning districts. And we included a lot of new uses that currently aren't in your code today that you want to see more of. So artisan spaces, missing middle housing, breweries. And in the table, there's either a P, which denotes a principal permitted use, so that's a use by right. And then the S in the table signifies the special land use, which you just went through tonight with the gas station. So this makes it a lot more user-friendly and easier for developers to quickly see if they should be proposing a project on a certain property within the city.
So Article 6, I'll talk to you about Article 6, which is our schedule of regulations, building form, and design standards. On page 27, the main thing to understand with this article is that we established 2 overlays, and overlays are tools to implement specific design standards for designated areas, like major commercial areas or highly frequented areas. Overlays are used to protect valuable real estate within a city. This is a tool to protect the city's image along highly visible corridors. So that's why we recommend overlays as opposed to creating a whole new zoning district. We can have overlays and have higher design standards, including minimum building height requirements. So within the city, we have 2 overlays. One here is the central downtown overlay, and then the other here is the Gratiot Gateway overlay. And both of these overlays are, again, created by all of our immense public engagement that we've enjoyed throughout the process, and also all of our documents like the master plan and the 9 Mile strategic corridor plan. So here are our overlays today. They have higher design standards. They also do not allow certain types of uses. For example, in the central downtown overlay, a drive-through restaurant is not allowed, as Laura discussed within the use table.
We also made a lot of changes to the parking Article 8. So we've added a lot of flexibility and modernized the parking ratios, the minimum parking that's required for different uses based on recent best practices from the Institute of Transportation Engineers and the Urban Land Institute. We've also added some additional standards that will promote safety on the roads, not just for vehicles, but for pedestrians as well, and make the flow of traffic easier. And then in landscaping, this was one of those pain points that we identified early on in the process, that the landscaping standards today are confusing and developers often don't get it right on the first couple tries when they submit plans. So we streamlined those. We made it really clear what's required for different uses, and tried to quantify those requirements a little bit better.
Development plan reviews, page 101. We provided flow charts in the ordinance to guide the reader, and this is again another measure that we took to be more user-friendly in understanding how a site plan and special land use process works. We also established 3 types of development reviews: the plot plan review, a sketch plan review, and a site plan review. The sketch plan review is different from the existing ordinance because it meets RRC, Redevelopment Ready Communities, best practices in allowing for administrative review of a minor building project, like a construction of an addition to a convenience store, for example. And we have the plans, or the flow charts represented here that are within the ordinance.
Oh, okay. We also revamped the planned unit development, the PUD section of your ordinance. So this gives the city more flexibility in requiring best practices for development and requiring more of a public benefit when you have large-scale projects and mixed-use transformative projects. We also streamline the process so that it's incentivizing developers to go this route as opposed to just going the conventional zoning process.
And again, we've generated so much support for this project that the Michigan Economic Development Corporation Community Planner wrote a letter of support for our project that's featured on the screen and within your packets. And like I've mentioned previously, we are applying for the Best Practice Award from the Michigan Association Planning Chapter of the American Planning Association.
All right.
All right. Go Eastpointe. So we'd like to have another thank you because we're so appreciative of this great project in the community for all of our steering committee meeting members. They're featured on the screen here today. I won't recite everyone's name because I think we're down to the minute. But thank you for all of your support, and it was a lot of fun working with everyone.
Thank you.
And we're here.
Thank you for all your hard work and everyone that assisted in doing this. Thank you to the residents as well for helping with this.
You could have taken a half hour. I think they need a great round of applause.
Ordinance, just in general, and I guess that's my biggest concern with changing an entire ordinance, not just, that it's a zoning, or if we did that with any ordinance, right? And it's a very lengthy one. And I guess that is I think, all the different topics we've talked about are great. I think it's very forward-looking. But that's just one, so I know you here and there have talked about that, but I guess that's just my biggest concern in general.
I would say that throughout this process, Mara and I both went systematically through the zoning ordinance. It does have a completely new organization, and that's because it matches up with the Michigan Association of Planning's best practices for layout and user, to make it more user-friendly. But Mara and I.
Dana, I believe we have motion and support. Please call the roll.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Councilmember Curley,
Oh, yes.
Councilmember Communis,
Yes.
Mayor Owens,
Yes.
Councilmember Baker,
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico.
Yes.
Great job, you all. Next item is
All right,
discussion.
thank you. We did it.
Next item, discussion on MedStar contract. I'm gonna give this to our, you put this on here. Okay,
Sure.
Mr. DeMonico, I'm sorry.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I asked that this be added to the agenda for today. At our last meeting, I asked that. I asked that because our current contract expired, I think somewhere around the end of last year. And of course, we had the other discussion at the last meeting, but I figured that the one thing I wanted on the agenda, not a discussion on the whole contract, but on the second paragraph in it about the contract being able to be any documents that would be related to this renewal.
Council,
Support.
any discussion?
Yes, I have a question. How, maybe this, I don't know if you have the answer, Mr. DeMonico, or our city manager would be better suited to answer. Because this was brought up after our discussion at our last council meeting regarding potentially entering a new contract with MedStar. So how do the two relate or not? Either.
I guess to me, I think we should extend this so that we're under contract specifically in the date range.
Yes.
Councilmember Baker,
Yes.
Councilmember Communis.
Yes.
Mayor Owens.
Yes. Next item is the approval of purchase 2023 F-350 truck for Department of Public Works and Service. Council,
Madam Mayor, I would move the approval of the purchase of a 2023 F-350 pickup truck from Michigan Deal Contract 071B77000181 from the low bidder, Gorno Ford Incorporated of Woodhaven, Michigan, for a total amount of $52,000.
Support.
Discussion, council?
Nations of board members. I guess first, our chair of the Beautification Commission recently resigned, and I'm not sure if I saw communication go out about that, so the rest of the commission knows. So Lynn Salafia's resigned from the commission, but I did not know that Jacqueline Macon had resigned from the Board of Review. I learned that in our council packet.
Thank you.
So in the future here, we'll alert the rest of city council, Ms. Walton, about resignations from commissions.
So we didn't provide a specific communication on everyone that had resigned, but Otis, our administrative assistant, actually sends out a communication with a listing of the current members.
Kevin Murphy to the Beautification Commission with the term to expire October 15. Kevin Murphy to the Beautification Commission with the term to expire October 15, 2025.
Second.
Motion and support, please call the roll.
Councilmember Monaco?
Yes.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Mayor Owens?
Yes.
Councilmember Cobb Muniz?
Yes.
Councilmember Curley.
Yes.
Item N, we're almost there, everyone. The reappointment to the DDA Board Commission. Council?
Mayor, I move that we reappoint Lisa Dye Hightower to the Downtown Development Authority Board with a term to expire September 1st, 2026.
Support.
Motion and support, any discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Cobb Muniz?
Yes.
Councilmember Curley.
So these conferences help me to learn what other cities are doing, whether they're big or small. And also in respect to what you said earlier, weak mayor forum and strong mayor forum. Actually, when I went to some of these conferences, I actually met a mayor in a strong form of government, per se, and she has less residents than I do. So it depends on what city you live in or what state you live in, that what requires how it's ran. And she has done a lot. So being around other communities and other smaller cities, they all come together and tell you how you can manage your community. And so sometimes when I go to other places and I learn what other people are doing, they have surpassed Michigan in a lot of ways. And I believe, Mr. Blum, I don't know if you remember this, when I was trying to do a partnership with a filtering company, and they pay half and the city pay half, so that we can get filters for the city of Eastpointe. And that was 4 years ago. And then I believe you said, I don't know, we can do that, or I don't know if you remember that discussion, but I reached out to filtering companies because I knew we had lead in our pipes, so we can do something about it. I did that 4 years ago, so and I did that on my own. But I think you said we don't have the money at the time to do that. We couldn't pay half. I don't know if you remember that discussion.
I do, but I don't remember the actual specifics.
Right. So some of the things that any of the council members can tell you, when we go to a conference, we're not just hanging out. It's work, because it's workshops back to back to back to back. And sometimes you get really tired, but you're in there to learn and to invest in your community. And I take time away from my children to help invest in this community. So I'm just addressing some of the things that you were talking about weak form and strong form and things like that, however you want to see it. That is what has been written, but that's your opinion, and everybody has one, and that's fine. But again, there are smaller cities, smaller than the city of Eastpointe, that have what you want to call it, strong form of government, and they also tell me, okay, I have a smaller city. This is prepare us because we're doing more of the work. It helps me to better serve the community, and it helps me to learn as well. And so even though we have a city manager that oversees the day-to-day operations, as elected officials, you should want your elected officials to know what's going on and understand when the city manager comes to us and tells us who you elected. We should know at least some idea of what's going on. We should have some idea what our city manager said. You elected us to make sure that we know what we're talking about, and if we don't, she does the research and backs it up, and then we back it up too. So you got checks and balances. So, if you elected me to be your mayor, you should want me to be educated and know the things that's going around us, whether we can use it or not, to better serve you, to better use your taxes. And so that is why I am going. And again, workshops are to help us be better leaders, help us to help who's ever up here. Also, anyone up here is able to go. Some events and conferences, even with Harvard, I think they were asking the mayors who actually went to, what were they asking to see if you can suggest other people to go? And I suggested 3 other council members to go because I went and things like that. So I want all the council to go. If anybody on the council wants to go with me, phenomenal. Now you got 2 people up here that's educated because what I don't remember, she can remember and vice versa. So it's not just the mayor going. I think 2 council members went to an event in Lansing last week. I didn't go. But whatever tools they picked up, education they picked up, they shared with us to help us better serve the community. And so anytime I go to a free trip, I'm going to get educated. And like I said, it's a job. We have to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning. And sometimes I don't even get to sleep in my room. And we're very tired. It's a conference to learn, to get resources. It's work. I go out there to work and to get educated, to better serve you. And if you want to call me and say, Mayor Owens, can you tell me what you did at the conference? And if you want to come with me, come on. We can both learn together. But I'm just saying that to say anything that I receive, I bring it back to the city. And sometimes it can be overwhelming workshops and then sometimes you can't get in all the workshops. It can be so many people there that you have to sign up. Sometimes it's first come, first serve. So it can be a mass amount of things at these workshops. Everybody's trying to learn. And then I also ask the city manager, what do we need? When I go down there, I already have probably the first month I was elected. I don't know, Ms. Holman. The Ford Foundation contacted us. I think you remember with the container homes. That was huge for us with the Habitat for Humanity. It was new development. And so that was new for us. That was huge. And so I know that they're doing that in the city of Detroit, which is a bigger community for us. But at the time, the residents didn't think that, would fit us. And so it was a resident that would tell you that was here that I went to every house predominantly in that area by myself, went door to door and showed them the designs and to see how they felt about it. And majority of them liked it. They just didn't show up. That's why it didn't pass, because they have to work and they have something to do. But I took the time as the mayor to go door to door to see what the residents wanted. I did. But also going to other communities.
Training budget, so I'd motion to go to this conference with that amount, but I guess I've got a question, because as you mentioned, previous Mayor Pro Tem Lucido donated $400 of her training budget to you. So I'm, at that last meeting. I'm surprised that you still have $407 left. I thought the whole point was because it was gonna be more expensive. So I don't really understand the math there.
Yeah, please.
So the registration for the event in DC was actually waived. I think it was a first-time event registration. So it was the lodging and the flight that was approved by council, and the actual event was waived as a first-time attendee.
And this is also waived as well.
Okay, well, I mean, I'd be.
Councilmember Communis.
Yes.
Next is the hearing of the public. The hearing of the public is now open. Give me 1 second, Ms. Dykold. Good evening.
I am here tonight because I am the lucky new recipient of a frivolous and wasteful code violation here in Eastpointe. For those interested in a timeline, my boyfriend and I bought a house in December 2011. About a year later, we got engaged, and a year after that, we got married. The house remains in the same hands since December 15th, 2011. Let's fast forward to April 2023, and I'm seeing posts on Facebook from fellow Eastpointe residents receiving code violation notices from McKenna, working as the interim Eastpointe Building Department, for having their addresses spelled out in words and not in 5-digit numbers. These folks have owned their homes since 1988 and 2002, given proper written notice of this violation. How many of these tickets have been written in the past 6 months, and why on earth is this a priority for the building department? When did the city of Eastpointe adopt the Michigan Residential Code of 2015? Newsflash, you didn't. And let's pretend that we did, 102.2 states that that code does not nullify any local laws. Eastpointe Code, in Article 18, Section 50-189, every residential building must be identified facing the street in at least 3-inch height. We comply. In Michigan Residential Code 2015, Section 102.7 states that the building that already legally exists at the date of adoption of MRC 2015 shall be permitted to continue without change.
Cindy Federle, as an elected official, Mayor Owens, it is not your job to lecture me. I understand what conferences are about, and had you listened to my comments instead of immediately assuming it's because I don't like you, which has nothing to do with my comments, I suggested the city manager would benefit the city more by attending the conference if anybody goes. I think it's a waste of money to go to a conference that is all about smart development. We don't have urban transit. We don't need all of what the agenda appeared to be about. It is intended for larger cities. This has nothing to do with personality. It has to do with the city taxpayer money. And when residents make comments that the mayor should go to these things, they should look at what it means to be a weak mayoral system. You don't set policy.
I would like to address this bandit pickup truck. It got a snow blade on the back of it, and it's sitting on flat tire. It's a couple doors down the street from me. And it's been sitting down there, I believe, ever since December. And it's rusty. It's a bad eyesore. Okay, now let me get to it. It's been sitting there for months, and it make the neighborhood look bad. Then you have new neighborhood children they moved in there last year, and they play football, and they have a basketball rim in the street. When it get warm, my car have been hit several times because I have one that parked on the street. It just got hit just last week. I think this did. Oh, okay. And I'm getting a little tired of having to do all the work in my neighborhood because I'm the one that, when they were stealing cars a couple years ago, and my husband went down there to try to knock on the door to wake the neighbor up and let them know that they was out there, had stole their car. They had actually put the car in the middle of the street. And he kind of scared them off, and we did call the police, and the police did come, beat on the door till they came. But the next day I did send out flyer to let the neighbors know what was going on, and if they can turn the porch light on or kind of like look out. But they don't really do what they need to do. But I know I cannot do that anymore because it's dangerous for me to be on somebody's porch trying to send out flyers. So I'm asking maybe you guys can send out some kind of ordinance to let them know what's going on, what they supposed to do by keeping their property clean up.
Our mayor participate with other mayors that are a part of Smart Cities. Also, please, the street of Springer Avenue, from Boulder to Kelly, or even David, craters. Please address the potholes. Not even the potholes, we just need the street repaved. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else at this time? Seeing none, the second hearing of the public is now closed. Mayor and council report, starting with our councilwoman.
I'm going to reserve comment till our next meeting.
Okay, Councilman DeMonico.
Thanks, Mayor. A bunch of good things been happening in the city. We had a great spring cleanup at the Urban Seed. They're getting ready for business for this year. If you haven't been free food after you pick up a little trash in the city, I'd like to thank the commissioners too, Lakita Cobb, Rachel Sullivan, Craig Wadecki, Paul Colby, Pam Russell, and Sine. They do a great job putting everything on that the Beautification Commission does. They showed up and did the work too. And again, food from Andy, and I'd like to thank Darren Paolucci, Kim Homan, and Michael Phillips, a couple DPW workers, and our assistant city manager for coming out. And thank you, Councilwoman Cobb Muniz and Mayor Owens for showing up also and picking up some trash with us. Always a good time, and sorry, Mr. Rich Albright, thank you also for coming out. This is why I write things down, so I don't forget this. Had a good time. Actually, I think my favorite piece of garbage Mr. Albright found, he found a table, like a plastic, lawn lawn table. 3 of the legs were missing, so we just had the 4th leg to throw away. Hopefully the other 3 found their way into some sort of dumpster. But also the library, put it all in one day, but I don't know how we'll have it set up this year. And then also, let's see, sorry, a couple other quick items. Memorial Day Parade is coming up. It's on Memorial Day in Eastpointe like usual, Monday, May 29th. If you're looking to take part in it, we can always use more participants. We do already have more than last year, so that's very exciting. But if you know any groups that'd be willing to go in the parade, let us know by May 8th. Just need to know a little bit of information about what you'll be showing up with. Just send us an email, send me an email if you don't know where to find it, but we're on Facebook, and we've got a website, acfvo.com, the Association for a Community Fraternal and Veterans Organizations. Very, very short group name. Congrats to Matt Merlo, our Deputy Police Chief, also on retirement in just a couple days here. And then, do have to say, I can't believe our code enforcement team, though, is wasting time on these cursive addresses. I gotta say, I hope this changes soon. There's much better things we could be spending our time on. There'd be zero value in complying with that anyway. You'll have numbers for your address and instead of cursive letters, I guess. But that is all, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Baker?
Thank you. Just congrats to Matt Merlo. I've had the opportunity to talk with him a few times, and
2 years ago, it was approved by someone from our city, and then recently somebody came out and gave him a ticket. We need to find out if that's true or not, because you shouldn't be having to flip that thing around, particularly if she was told that it was okay. Secondly, the big boy has a lot of semi-trucks, but they do say 7 there, or I don't know if it's permissible for the owner to say, yeah, you can park in my parking lot. If it's against the rules, they should be notified before the week is over. You are not allowed to park here. You don't have to give them a ticket, but say you are not allowed to park here. I mean, why are they even there for such a long time? And we give a lot of proclamations out, and I love every one of them to death. I just think they're great. But wouldn't it be great if we sat here and read a proclamation honoring the 33,000 citizens of Eastpointe? Wouldn't that be nice to read the proclamation for the citizens of our city? Lastly, I know we had a big agenda. We had a difference of opinions. It wasn't an all 5-0 vote, and that's okay. But I ran across something that I'm going to read a little bit, called Happiness Is. And I would like to have everybody leave here tonight, maybe one of the things you can think about, but happiness is rainbows. Happiness is looking back at photos or gazing upon the amazing sunrise or sunset. Happiness is finding a butterfly or gazing up to the stars on a clear night. Thank you, everyone, for watching and for coming, and God bless you. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. I ain't forgot one. Happiness is getting out of here early.
Yeah.
But yeah, But I want to thank everyone who stayed and came out. It was filled in here, but everybody has to go to work or have children or have other things to do. But thank you for being a part of your community. Before we leave, our councilwoman just reminded me that our assistant city manager, Ms. Holman's birthday was Sunday, so happy birthday.
Yay! Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday. 36. And also, she came out to even though it was her birthday, she wasn't feeling, she was feeling a little bit under the weather. She still came out to clean up. So thank you so much, Ms. Holman. Ever since she's been hired, she's been superseding what we asked of her. Thank you very much for all you do. And every director and person that works for the city of Eastpointe, and every commissioner as well. Also, I want to thank the beautification and everyone that came out and partnered up with the city to clean our city. That makes us a even more smarter city because we want to clean our city. So I thank you. Also, I want to thank the council for approving me to go to Colorado. And also, again, if you want to go, just let me know. Or also, if you see something on the agenda that you think the workshop I should go to, as a recommendation, I'll go to that as well. So that being said, happy Mother's Day to everyone, and let's keep this city going. Motion for
So
adjournment.
moved.
Support.
Motion and support, please call the roll. Which again is the Eastpointe Magic, and they are the cheer team of Champion Force. Please go to St. Thomas Lutheran Church if you want to donate to help this team of young people go to the Nationals. And also, meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone. All right,
Harvey, no more predictions.